Did you really hear the lyrics? I mean, Steve just did such a phenomenal job by taking that song and shifting it just to a bit of a slower beat. And in that shifting it from the way we've always heard it, some of us were probably pretty attached to the idea, oh, this isn't exactly the way I want it. I want that other rhythm. But then you had to settle into it. And when you settled into it, you got to hear things the way you probably have not quite heard them before. And it was about getting into it, that the peace train is right here. It's right inside you. It's about joining in to that which has always been there. It's about becoming that which we've always been. It's not about getting to a destination. You see, this is the fallacy of life, that we're going to a destination, and once we get the destination, it's what we're seeking. There is the joy, there is the beauty, there is the peace, there is the abundance. And in that alone, we find ourselves misguided, misdirected. We find that everything's a lie. Think about that. Because what are we seeking? We're seeking something so far above where we are that there's no possible way that we can get there. This, as has been explained by many people in many different ways, is that when we set an intention so far above where we are, we go naturally where? Into depression. This is the idea of where bipolar comes into effect. It's because the goal that we are seeking is so far above us, there's no possible way that we can see that goal. There's no possible way we can reach it. So when we measure ourselves against something that's impossible, we see ourselves forever not becoming it, not experiencing it, and we go into the doldrums of life. The key thing is, this is out here, but what's between here and there? That is the journey. And the journey is a step-by-step process. And if we keep our mind focused on the step and the next step and the next step toward that, now we can live in a happy life. Because it is so much easier to buy into the idea that I can go from making an annual income of $15,000 to making an annual income of $20,000 instead of saying, I'm making $10,000, I think I'll make $1 million. You see, that leap's impossible. But the idea of making a baby step towards something, it can be grasped and we can achieve it. So what we do is we chunk it down. And when we chunk it down, we understand. Something that we forget is that we think we're changing. We're really not changing. Here's the truth of the matter is, truth never changes. A true spiritual principle never changes. But our understanding of it does. See, electricity has always been there. Back in the Roman days, back in the Greek days, back into the Egyptian days, back into the days long before them at the cavemen, back in the dinosaur days, electricity was there. But as we've matured as a species, we now understand it where we can flip a switch and electricity can light this room. But you see, that law that can light this room, if we stick our finger in a socket, can kill us. So what we're understanding is that there is a law. It's the law that is the aspect of God that we are a part of that is always working. And how we use that law is the truth for us. Not the truth for everyone, it's the truth for us because how we use it will demonstrate our experience. And the law does not care whether you want black or white. If you want black, it gives you black. If you want white, it gives you white. It doesn't care if you're consciously thinking or unconsciously thinking. It just simply takes the sum total of the thought that we are, takes that as a mental atmosphere. That atmosphere is then absorbed by the power that creates, and that experience is birthed back to us. So our experience is simply telling us what is the atmosphere we're exuding. If we walk into a party and everyone's dressed up, everyone's looking great, there's joy, and we walk in and people part and go in different directions, we must ask the question, what is my mental atmosphere? And could that mental atmosphere use a mental deodorant? Because if you really think about it, people aren't disliking you. They're being repelled because of the energy. You see, what we are is we are energetic beings. Everything about us is energy. Science has proven that over and over, that all we are is energy. And we chunk it down further and further and further, and we find out the smallest particle is the essence of God. The smallest particle has thought. It has intelligence. Think about it, that every little quantum quark or whatever the lowest denomination comes together and builds into an organ, builds into this body, and there's an intelligence that I perceive as this body, but there's trillions of pieces of intelligence going on within me. So in this room we come together, and there's an intelligence in this room. Then if we go out into Dallas, there's an intelligence of Dallas. You see, we're all parts of it. Then if we go into the planet, we realize that the planet is part of trillions of other planets. And then if we go into the solar systems, there's trillions of solar systems. It never stops. And all of it has what? Divine intelligence behind it. That's the truth. Divine intelligence is behind all things. And what we have come to understand in our humanness at this time is that divine intelligence functions toward the direction of our thought. So I want to take this and go a bit further, because I think metaphysics has played a little bit too light. And they talk about just change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. And that's the motto of what we teach. But there's so much more than that. You see, when you change your thought, you then change your words. When you change your words, you change your beliefs. When you change your beliefs, you change your actions. That's about as far as the movie The Secret went. But you see, you can do all that and nothing can change. Because in that, where's the power? Do you see, there's no power right there. We haven't identified what is the source of power within it. And that comes back to the idea that there's only one mind, there's only one divine intelligence. It's radiating, permeating throughout the universe. It is a mind that understands order. Does that make sense? The law that keeps everything in process, all the planets, all the solar system in place, all of it functioning where it's weaving and grieving, grooving and gliding in between itself. It's a cosmic dance that is going on from the microscopic level to the macroscopic that we can't even imagine. That dance is going because there's divine intelligence called order. And that order demonstrates in our lives based on our thought process. And it's our thought process which goes into our words, which goes into our beliefs, which determines our actions. And then when we understand we are one with it, now we have the power. You see, if we don't understand the oneness of what we are, that's where you think about positive thinking as just garbage. It's Pollyanna. Do you follow that? But when you connect, as what Jesus said so clearly, it is the Father within me. He was talking about the allness of God, the mind of God that is everywhere present within him that did the creating. He just used his word with belief and conviction. Jesus thought, his words were in alignment, his beliefs were in alignment, and his actions were in alignment with the Father within, which got him to oneness, which then he created so he could speak his word and Lazarus would rise from the dead. He understood the power. He knew it was not I, but is the Father within. And he understood it is done to you as you believe. But you can't separate the two. You cannot separate those two. And then the believing aspect has to be thoughts, words, and actions. What was that saying? Your action speaks so loud, I cannot hear you. So that just simply means is that someone is acting in a way that's out of alignment with their actions that you just know something's awry. You ever met people like that? I bet you have. I've been one of those people. I bet we've all been one of those people because it's part of the human process. So when we come to this idea of inspired action, that's where I want to go today. I want to really get into this idea of inspired action because we understand that there are thoughts. We understand our words, and we've been really focusing on that. But inspired action comes from the standpoint of first, knowing our oneness. So if we're going to take an action in life, and we know we're one with God, and we know that that action can create, will we be doing everything we're currently doing? If we understood oneness in its purity when we're interacting with that grocery store person, when we're interacting on the roads, understanding that everyone we meet is an expression of God, an expression of us, because we're one with God, how will we act toward them? Deep question. Because if we start asking that type of question, we will start becoming and behaving in a completely different way. I think the whole idea is that we must have our words, our thoughts, and our actions in alignment with that which we seek. So if we seek to be a CEO of a company, we must think, speak, and act as a CEO of a company. If we want to be in the most loving relationship, what is a loving relationship? It's a relationship that is unconditional. It accepts people as they are, sees the God within them, knows that they're doing their best. As they're unfolding, it will be drawn into them easily and effortlessly. So we don't have to judge people. We accept them where they stand, where they are. And when we do that, here's the beauty of it. We're really not accepting them. We're accepting ourselves. Do you see that when we judge others, we're really judging ourselves? Because you cannot see something in another that you're not looking for in yourself. That just sucks. It really does. But if you think back in your life, you will think in this time, my gosh, I'm fully aware. I am conscious. When you think that, you're lying to yourself. Because to be fully conscious means that you can understand and contemplate the infinite. I can't even begin. I can use some words, I can use some ideas, and I'm limiting it right there and then. You see, one of the things I've come to understand is that as we go and we develop this idea of what is the truth cannot be embodied by just thinking about it and understanding it. The truth must be a way of life. And that's where this idea of inspired action comes from. And it comes from the aspect of always asking the question, how can I be a more inspired action of love? How can I be love in every relationship that I'm with? How can I be at peace with the person that I am being in the world and realize that I am more than enough, that there's nothing more that I need to be? You see, so much we judge ourselves and say, I'm not worthy until this. I'm not worthy until I shed these last 5 pounds. I'll start dating when I shed these last 5 pounds and I can wear my old suit with these pants and I can look like John Travolta. I can't do that anyway, I'm married. Why did that come out? You know? Think about John Travolta. Remember him in Saturday Night Fever? He was a skinny little dude. If you think about him, he was a skinny little dude. He had on those bell-bottom pants that were tight as can be, right, ladies? And he had on this shirt, and he had it open, and he had these little shoulders. But if you look at John Travolta today, he has a presence. He is a powerfully big man, right? And he appears pretty confident in that. I think one of the things, whether you agree with John's beliefs or not, I think John likes himself. I think John accepts himself as he is. And when he does that and he accepts himself, he's in self-love. So who are we to say that his beliefs are wrong? The same thing happens when you look at Tom Cruise. Because I'm using celebrities because they're the ones who seem to be put out there for us to judge all the time. And remember, Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch and everyone made a big deal about it? Wait a second, was Tom Cruise being authentic? At that moment, was he being himself? Did he care what people thought? No. So why would we judge him? We would accept that he's a healthy, natural expression of God that's on his unique journey. Did you hear the words at the end? He's on his unique journey, so accept him as that. When my spouse wants to go to bed early and be by herself, you accept your spouse in that role. When I want to go out and see one of those teenage movies that she doesn't want to see, she accepts me as that man and says, go be by yourself and do that. Or take one of your two sons, and they are always glad to accompany with me. You see, there are times when we go see movies like The Secret, or we see movies that have a deep meaning. Then there's other times when you really get into the American Pie. It was the trilogy, but now there's 4 of them, and by far the greatest 4 ever built on the planet, to the teenage mind. And now keep in mind, ladies, the teenage mind is God's mind. And the teenage mind is expressing through these characters. Stifler is God in expression. Don't judge him, accept him. Every man has a little Stifler in him. I don't know if they got that, Gene. Jan's up here just smiling with a big grin on her face. And Brian's in back just giggling away like crazy. And Dee's wanting to smack Brian, say, stop that Stifler stuff. Anyway, what are the people in the world going to say when they watch this video? We don't really care, do we? If they were here, they'd get a better feel for it. You see, this is about being in alignment. Spirit has joy at the very center of everything it is. Spirit is about having fun. Spirit is about being in life without restriction. You see, when you're without restriction, you're just speaking. You're being authentic. I had a magnificent experience the other day. I was called by someone that I haven't talked to in several years, someone that I've had a spiritual past with. And this person had moved away, and when I picked up the phone, I said hi, and they said who they were, and I just bellished out my love to hear from them. And they said, I'm in the hospital and I need prayer. And so immediately I went into a 15 or 20-minute prayer for where this person was. And I finished, we ended, and we said goodbye. And this person the next day sent me an email saying, thank you so much. Things have shifted so graphically for me that my condition is no longer the condition that the doctors are seeing. They're seeing things having changed. And the comment she made, she says, I remember when you were obnoxious, you appeared to be unconnected, but I also remember you were always authentic. And you see, when you're authentic, you're God. You're realizing it more and more and more. And I think the greatest action we can take in our lives is self-acceptance. You see, how easy is it to be with someone who's being authentic? You know when someone's putting on the show, putting on the Ritz. We know what that's about, don't we? But when someone's being authentic, what happens? There's an energy about that, isn't there? It feels easy. It feels natural. We're not threatened by that energy. And when we can be that energy, we're giving what to the people around us? We're giving them the true picture of who we are so that they can love us. But if we're not being authentic, how can they love us? Because they don't know who we are. We're hiding from them. We put up these false clothes. We put up this layer of armor that stops them from seeing through and seeing into our heart center. And if they can't see our heart center, then they don't know the Christ that we are. They don't know that consciousness, and they can't love us. The greatest gift we have is to be able to go home, stand in front of the mirror, look into the eyes and realize that those are the eyes of God looking at us, and say to ourselves, I love you with my whole heart and soul. I love everything you've done, everything you've been. I see how everything in your life has brought you to this point of consciousness. Without any of that, you could not be the magnificence that you are. You would not be at this point of further expansion. So I accept you as you are. And when you can look yourself in the mirror and say that to yourself and embody it, you can then walk out to anyone else in your realm and you can look them in the eyes and I accept you as you are for everything that you've ever done and all that you have been and all that I know that you are becoming. When we do that, where are we? We're on that peace train. Because when we're on the peace train, there is no judgment. There's only self-love and self-acceptance, and then we're going in life and we're creating from that place. We're creating from that consciousness. That's what Cat Stevens was talking about. He was getting on that idea that's always been within us. You see, the truth has always existed. It's our understanding of it that has to expand so that we can use it more full, and as we use it more full, we create the life of our dreams. And when we create the life of our dreams, we can stop looking outside of ourselves for our joy and realize to have that joy, we must bring it. Remember, there was a saying, bring it on, right? That's bring it on from within you. So if you want a joyful experience, you don't go to a party and say, I'm going to have joy because of this party. You go to that party bringing the joy to the party. You want to go on a date with someone and have a great time, you bring the unconditional love to that date. Because you are the unconditional love. When you bring that Christ consciousness, that Buddha consciousness, that love consciousness into the world, it can do nothing but draw it back to you and multiply it exponentially. And here's the key. Once you've experienced love at this level, you'll never be happy with it at this level. And once you've experienced at this level, you know there's always going to be more. You see, there's never a ceiling. There's no glass ceiling on love. We are eternal beings that can experience and express love. So this idea that as you get older in marriage, the longer you're married or the longer you're in relationship, it gets boring, it's dull, it's this type of stuff. That's poppycock. I want you to know that poppycock is a word a minister can use on camera when it's going across the world. I've now toned my language down just a little bit to be the minister who has more people. Does that make sense? That would not have been the word 3 weeks ago, trust me. But poppycock, meaning there's always more I can love myself, which means there's more I can love my wife, which there's more I can love my children, which is more I can give love to the community. There's infinite amounts of love. And if you were at my home yesterday, we did the foundations workshop. How many have had foundations? Raise your hands. One of the greatest days of your life. Because everything in that workshop is about experiencing God, experiencing the divine. And those that were there yesterday are probably still buzzing. There's still that aspect. They've touched on love at a deeper level than ever before. Here's the thing. They can't go back. Once you've tasted the nectar of love, it is addictive. And you want more of it. But remember, it doesn't come from having a person. It comes from being the love inside you. You see, when I come to this understanding of what it is, action that we need to take, it's about being love. So if you think love, you speak love, you build a belief system of love, and you act from love, knowing that the infinite power of God is within you, you have found the secret. And when you have found the secret and you implement it, not just talk about it, you implement it, you will become an avatar. An avatar is a person who knows truth, who models truth, and people want to be with so that they can see that same truth for themselves. Because the avatar is one who can look into the eyes of every person that they meet and see God, can know love, without any thought of what they were in the past. The past does not exist. Let it go and be love now. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.